Welcome, everybody, to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Craig Domann. Today, we are going to have a blast because the gentleman that is the guest he does what I would love to do, which is talk about mindset on a golf course. He's an author of 7 books. He coaches people on mindset, leadership, lots of different things, performing under pressure, and he uses the backdrop of golf to do it. Bob, welcome to Pro Mindset.
So good to be here. Awesome. Can't wait. Let's dig in.
Okay, let's make sure that everybody knows your last name too. Regnerus.
Spot on.
All right, brother.
5 stars, coach.
Okay, Bob. Bob operates in the sphere of 18. Since there's 18 holes on a round of golf, seems like you have a lot of 18s going on. And then, we talked off air before we got started. I'm turning my phone off here so we don't have any problems there. You locked up your high school sweetheart to a long-term contract. Been married for 33 years. Have a couple kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's renewed that contract over and over. It wasn't initially a long-term deal, but yeah, we locked it up and we're very happy. We both enjoy the same things and we're best of friends. So that helps a lot.
Well, smart women have an out class. Yeah. I just haven't exercised it yet. So I'm hitting 40. So that looks like, man. So it's not 20 for both of us. It's 40 for both of us. So
There you go.
Okay. So let's just jump right in here. So for you guys out there that love golf and understand that your golf game is more about your mind than it is your swing, even though we all are told it's our swing, we got a horrible swing. Oh, we need new clubs. Go buy a new driver. Oh, the best driver on the planet. You got to go spend $700 on that bad boy. Oh, by the way, a year from now, you got to go buy the next one because it's even better. How did you find yourself in a place where people can fly into Chicago? You can have car service pick them up and you can go to a golf course and get paid to coach mindset.
Yeah, it's really a decision and it comes from experience. And you and I are close in age. You maybe have a couple years on me, coach, but the idea is I've learned this philosophy and it took a while to learn. The philosophy I call is fit around. And I'll just talk about it real briefly. But most of our lives, from the time we put our head in that crib, we have been taught by our parents, by our coaches, our teachers, our religious leaders, society in general, our bosses, that our job is to figure out where we fit in the world. And I tried to do that just like everybody else. And I realized that there was a lot of places that I had a lot of anxiety and didn't really fit in. And I came to understand that I had it all wrong, that our job is not to fit in, our job is to fit around. And it's not about being self-centered. It's not about being a narcissist. It's about sovereignty. And athletes know this specifically, is that you have to own your domain. And I made a decision, coach, that I am going to own my domain. And so I took all my loves, athletes, coaching, golf, entrepreneurship, and said, how do I take this and merge it into something that is going to be wildly useful for my clients, but is going to be wildly enjoyable by me? And let's give this thing a go. So I'm calling it a grand experiment. We're talking about the genesis of this. But the idea here is, I know I've coached basketball since I was 16. I know that breakthroughs happen. Coaching happens while you're in motion. Coaching doesn't happen, breakthroughs don't happen sitting in the classroom. I'm all for film. I'm all for classroom instruction. But real breakthroughs come when you are moving and you are experiencing. And there's nothing like being in motion to get connected, get out of your mind, get into a place where you can actually have a really deep, connected conversation with somebody and get breakthroughs. So that is what I'm pursuing, and I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Wow. I'd like to replay that back for our audience because you talk about the passions that God gave you, the things that are deep in your heart. You're like building a career, building a life, utilizing the passions and the purpose that you believe you have. And that's where you find joy. That's when you don't have to work. That's when you can go to do what you do every day and it's not a job, And then to kind of use the sports metaphor, it's very difficult to get better sitting on the bench. And live reps really help athletes get better. And so for those of you that have these creative ideas of doing a certain thing in business or in life, and you're waiting for the perfect moment to figure it out, the best time to figure it out is to do it and figure it out on the go.
There's something there's something about your body moving. Like we're not meant to be stationary beings. Like if you look at nature, if you just sit outside, even on the quietest still day, everything around you is moving. I think it's in our nature to be moving. It's in our nature to be growing. And so this idea, and we know athletes get this more than anybody else, is that we are in our element when our body's moving. We're designed for movement. You know, it's like a sports car or an SUV. It's like we are designed to move. Now, I'm not built like a sports car anymore, but the idea is we need to be moving. And when we're moving, our body is moving, the blood is flowing, the oxygen is flowing, that breath is flowing through us, right? And we get to a place where we can free up our mind. Our mind starts to get creative because it's not constantly like when you sit down, you're in park. You're like a sports car that's just parked on the side of the road. Like it's meant to move. And when you're moving, that's when things start to happen. So I just took this philosophy. I just kind of inherently started doing this. Like all coaches and athletes understand this. I just didn't realize until I started doing that, oh my goodness, like this can apply in the business arena. And it's quite amazing to see, but it works.
Well, there's a couple things there. One is that I agree with that. I mean, action is critical. I think that you're fully present when you're in movement, when you're in action, and when you're sitting in a chair or you're sitting at a table thinking about what you're going to do. You know what? You can be partially present and think you're present. But if you're in a basketball game and there's only five of you on the team and you guys have the ball and one of your teammates is one pass away, you got to be locked in.
Gotta be.
Where when you're sitting at a desk, you don't have to be locked in. And the other part of that is I feel like breathing and movement are synonyms in this situation.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to shallow breathe. And I have a buddy that's pretty sick. And I talked to him last night and I sent him some breathwork exercises because he has limitations on what he can do, but he can breathe.
Yeah.
And so when I was coaching a basketball, it worked every time. I call a timeout because things were going haywire. Players would come over and they were pissed off at the official. They were mad at somebody on the other team that was being hyper aggressive. They were upset that some mommy or daddy in the stands was yelling something that was hurting their feelings. And I would say, guys, let's all take a deep breath together. Okay, let's do another one. We do three.
Yep. Three.
Everything changed. Everything changed. The problem was gone. I said, now can we focus on what we came here to do? Can we play our game? Can everybody do their job? And whatever the issue was, the fan in the stands, the official, the other player, all dissipated. What are your thoughts on that as a coach?
My goodness, like you're absolutely like speaking my language. So I started 20 years ago. I coached JV, so that's 15, 16-year olds at the high school. And I started doing in the locker room before we would do anything, before the pregame talk, the guys would dress, we'd gather together in a circle, we'd hold hands, and we would do three breaths. It was always three breaths. Like three is a number of perfection, right? We'd take three deep breaths and we would all breathe together in center. It was a visual representation for everybody that we are in sync, but it also gets the body prepared. There is something to breathing that is very primal. And the idea is this is that if you are a shallow breather, and think about when you're anxious, right? Your diaphragm is really tight, right? And you shallow breathe, and what that actually triggers in your brain somatically is that you are in distress. It's actually telling your brain, I'm in trouble, I'm not safe. And you can't perform at your best when your brain is going, you're in trouble. And so when you take really slow, deliberate breaths, you relax your diaphragm and extend the stomach, push it in, and breathe deep through the nose, out through the mouth. You're actually signaling to your brain, you are safe. We are safe. And it calms your lizard brain down. It calms that monkey mind down and allows you to focus in on the task at hand. And then absolutely, when you're in a situation where the stakes are high, it's a rival game, it's a close game, we're in double overtime, everything's at stake. The best thing you can do is to breathe. And think about when you've been injured. Like, what is the first thing the trainer tells you? They tell you to breathe,
Yeah,
right?
take a breath, brother. You're alive.
Yeah, take a breath because you are you're panting, right? You're like, you're anxious, like I'm hurt. But the first thing the trainer reminds you to do is breathe, because we forget to breathe, or we breathe really shallowly. So I've been doing this for 20 years. I discovered this halfway through my coaching career. But now when I go speak in front of a live audience, I do the same thing with the audience. I want us all to be in sync. I want us all to be present. I want everybody to feel safe. So before I get up and talk, I just like, would you do this with me? And we close our eyes and we do 3 deep breaths. We all get connected. The energy in the room, there's just this calming effect, and we're all together and we're sync, and then we move forward with it. So breath work to me, like, you don't even need to know the technique. If you just breathe deeply in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you have this very smooth, deep breath, it's going to do wonders for you. I don't care what state you're in. But I say this, as long as you're breathing, you're alive. That's what that's telling you.
Well, I think there's a chemical change in your body, a physiological response to breathing that like gets rid of stress. It
Yes.
gets rid of that fight or flight. And so like when I play golf, if I can do it, I will take 3 deep breaths before every shot. Sometimes I'm hurried. Sometimes I get lazy.
Yeah.
Take 3 deep breaths. I can be who I am. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's take a stab at this. This is all organic. We don't have a script.
No.
I want you to take me golfing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we're going to pick a course in Chicago. Where are we going?
Let's go play Harborside. Since we're recording this during the Open Championship, they're playing a link style. Let's go play Harborside in Chicago. It's a link style course right south of downtown. It's an awesome place.
Okay. So I've only played a couple links courses, but what is my homework before I leave either the airport or my house, depending on how I'm getting there? What's my homework? Obviously count my clubs and make sure I got new balls and brand spanking new glove, all that stuff. But what is my mental pre-round rehearsal? What do you want me to do before I show up?
I think the biggest thing is to set an intention, and that intention is to be present for the round. I think more than anything else, presence is key for you to have great performance. If your mind is like focusing on the fact that you had a fight with your wife, or is there something wrong with your kids, or you're thinking about your business, you aren't going to be focused in on that game, and your performance is going to suffer. Now, we are human, right? We are prone, like our mind is just going to go those places. But setting the intention early that we are going to be present for this round is your number one job. Is like, I am going to be present for each and every shot. I'm going to be present for my playing partner and my playing group. I am going to be present in this experience. That to me is probably the most important thing you could do, other than being prepared with your equipment, your uniform, and all those things. I'd say that would be number one thing.
Okay, I got it. I got it. Um, uh, on the way to the golf course, my intention is to be fully present, not be thinking ahead, not be thinking in the behind, not be thinking about other things, and to attempt to play every shot as the only shot. And then I'll add up my score at the end to see what my score is, because I don't want to be like, I might be getting close to my career best and I start thinking ahead, and that doesn't help. Okay, so that's one intention I have, and I'm gonna take that to heart. The second intention I'm gonna have is I'm gonna take off the brakes. I'm gonna see how good I can be. I'm not gonna go back to, if I hit a really good shot, I'm not going to compensate for that by hitting a bad shot, sabotaging it. I'm going to take it one shot at a time, and I'm going to allow myself to step into my greatness today every shot I get is an opportunity to be great. And some of them are not going to end up where I want them to, but I'm not going to be the opponent of myself today. So I got 2 intentions. Okay. We show up at the golf course. We've hit a few balls at the driving range. Where's my brain at that moment, at that point in time?
You got to be locked into the round. I mean, just understand that what we're talking about is golf here, but we're actually talking about how you approach anything in life. If you're on your way to a board meeting, you're on your way to an investor meeting, you're on your way to whatever it is, give a talk, like what we're talking about completely applies to that as much as it is to golf. Golf is just a mirror and just a metaphor that we're using for how you should approach everything. Because I always say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So this idea is the only thing you have control over as you approach the first tee is that first shot. You have 80, 90, 100 shots, okay, maybe less if you're better than me, but you have that many shots in the round and you're not going to take them all at the first tee. Your job is, I have one shot ahead of me, and that's the only thing you got to worry about. You shouldn't be worried about your score. You shouldn't be worried about that. You are thinking about, how do I keep that dialed in so that I'm only focused in on the current shot, this current setup right now. That's what you should be thinking.
Okay, but here's the problem. When I get up on the first tee, maybe it's not a member guest or a charity event and they don't announce my name, but I got three other dudes that are staring me down. At least I feel it. They may not even be paying attention to what I'm doing. How do I handle the attack of the perceived pressure of not duck hooking my first drive to start off? I've never played with you guys before.
Yeah.
And I know that my whole image and reputation depends on the first shot off the first tee. How do you coach people into, this is just one shot?
Well, here's the story. So everything in life is a story, and we have a story for everything in life to explain life away. So here's what's happening in that moment. And I'm speaking from experience, and this is something I still struggle with. Here's the scenario. What does it say about me if I get on the first tee and I shank my drive left? Okay. What you are thinking in that moment is, I can't screw up, because if, what does it say about me if I can't hit the ball in the middle of the fairway? Now, here's the deal. There are moments, and if you're a professional athlete, your performance matters because there's a lot on the line. We are in a golf match, okay? And so if you are not playing, you're not in a tournament, you're not a PGA pro, you are playing for fun, you're playing for charity, whatever the case may be. You not hitting that ball in the fairway and putting it down 250, 280 down the fairway. The only thing that we could say about that is that that is a fact or a piece of data. It has nothing to say about who you are as a person. All we could say is, if you take that shot and you duff it in, 60 yards to the left and you hit a tree, it's just a data point. It means I took a swing and it hit that tree. It says nothing about who you are. It says nothing about who you are as a human being. It has nothing to do with how you relate to your business, to your spouse, to your kids. All it says is that when I took that swing, I hit that tree. So in the largest scheme of things, a bad swing means nothing. However, we are very focused in as human beings about what we look like and how we look like to our peers. And so that pressure is real. I can't magically make that pressure disappear. When you are standing in front of an audience and giving a keynote and you suddenly freeze up, like you forgot where you are, you can't read the cue card, you start to stumble through, like I can't help the fact that you know that there's some things at stake and you are telling yourself this story. What will people think if I mess up this speech? What will happen if I hit the ball to the left here? The fact is that it's just a data point. It's just a fact. It's just something that happened. It doesn't define who you are. It doesn't change who you are. It's just something that happened. So the more you can disassociate from that act, that particular swing, the more you can detach it from your identity, the more that situation is not going to bother you. But if you're the type of person that is constantly thinking about what do others think of me, standing on that first tee with three other guys staring you down and maybe an eightsome or whatever behind you waiting you to tee off, that's going to be a terrifying situation for you.
Okay. Couple things. With the British Open going on, something popped up on my YouTube feed about one of the greatest collapses in the history of the tournament. And it was a guy that I don't even know who it was. He was up by 3 strokes going into the 18th hole, and he got like a 7 or 8 on 18 to lose the tournament. And he had some really horrible shots. I think one of the things that makes normal golfers, like the amateur golfers, feel good is to see a guy that gets paid to do this, the same thing that we do.
Yeah.
They can cook it. They can shank it. They can top it. They can underestimate or overestimate their distance. They can hit it in the water multiple times. And it just kind of cuts you loose from this idea that you have to be perfect. These guys are not perfect. They get paid to do it, and they hit 4,000 balls a week.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing is, in pro mindset, I have this concept called a performance bubble.
Yeah.
And I think a performance bubble can help. It's not perfect. It can help. But really what dictates the effectiveness of a performance bubble is how do you respond when it gets corrupted, when you get that bad shot, when you have this feeling of embarrassment, or you get upset or angry because, you practice more in the last week getting ready for this round than you have the last 10 years. You actually played the course. You visualized the course, playing the course the night before. Now, if I'm that guy, I went online and I played the course by getting familiar with the course. I knew on hole number one, let's say it's a par four, I knew what I was going to do, or at least what my intention was.
Yes.
Didn't happen. So how do you handle coaching people when they lose it? They get upset.
So it's interesting when you golf with somebody and you kind of watch how they respond. When they do something good, that's really not good data for me as a coach, because that's something good and it's what they expected to happen. It's when things go sideways that I really start to tune in. And again, understand what I do as a golf coach. Yes, I'm working on a performance. As a performance coach and a mindset coach, I'm watching how they respond to it as a human being. So, what I know is that golf is a mirror and it's also an amplifier. So, if you're the type of player that has a plan, hits a shot, and goes awry, and you're a club slammer or you're an F bomber, like you hyper react to something not going your way. I can be pretty sure, coach, that they tend to do that in business. They'll fly off the handle at their employees. They'll yell at their wife, right? They'll yell at their kids when things don't go their way. It shows a level of, I'll say emotional immaturity. And it's not, I don't want to say that this is a fault, but it's certainly something that you see in yourself that you have an opportunity to make a different choice. Because when you look back, there's there's a story that came through yesterday. If you remember the U.S. Open at Oakmont, Wyndham Clark, who was on the U.S. Ryder Cup team, right, is having a really tough season, had a crappy round at Oakmont, and he beat the snot out of a couple lockers. He was banned from Oakmont. Okay, they have banned a PGA golfer for messing up their locker room. Now, Wyndham, looking back on that, I can guarantee you in the moment it felt good to beat the crap out of that locker. But as soon as he stepped back from that and got over that emotion, he's looking back on that. And that's a source of embarrassment because he is a professional. But we do the same thing as amateurs. We fly off the handle. It feels good to slam the club. It feels good to like throw the club back at the cart. That's a moment of release. But it's also an opportunity for us to evaluate our behavior and go, is this the way I want to approach things? Is this the way I want to approach the game? Is this the way I want to approach life? Does it serve me and everybody else around me by spewing F-bombs and throwing my club at the cart when things don't go well? What does it do? Well, it makes everybody else uncomfortable, whether you realize it or not. That is a situation where people in your group start to kind of tense up because you're not able to control your emotions. It happens in your household. If you come home and your kids and your wife are on eggshells because you may or may not have had a bad day, like that is something that you need to evaluate and go, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to be this way going forward? All right, this is the type of stuff. But I can guarantee you, if you're doing that on the golf course, you're doing that in the home, you're doing that in the business. And while it might be amplified on the golf course, you don't want to get in a situation where you get in the heat at home and you do something at home that you later look back and regret on. So it's a great opportunity for you to just take a step back and go, well, wait a minute, have the temper tantrum, but then immediately go, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why does this matter so much to me? Why am I flying off the handle because this little white ball didn't land where I needed it to land? It's because you're attaching all kinds of meanings and definitions to your performance. And it goes back and it's probably related to your childhood. And we can go deep into that, coach, if we want to. But the idea here is that if we are aware and conscious in the moment, we can get ourselves back to center, and you can go through frameworks and tricks, whatever you need to do, even take those deep breaths like we just talked about. Getting yourself back to center, getting yourself back in that performance bubble, balancing out your emotions, and playing out the rest of that round without having that type of blow up.
Well, one of the things that I teach with the performance bubble is to keep outcomes, results, honors, rewards, recognition outside the bubble. And so when you think about it, let's go back to you. You did a wonderful job of explaining the ramifications, the ripple effect of if you can't control yourself on a silly golf course, on a bad, you have a bad shot, you're creating generational trauma with your kids. I can promise you that at home. Okay. But let's just break this down like myopically. Why did you get upset because you picked the wrong club or you hit it off the hosel, whatever the case may be? It's because you were too attached to the outcome
Yes.
instead of the process. So if you're a golfer, and I've done both, I'm in control now. Okay. Because I just don't have expectations. I don't know I'm never going to be a professional golfer. I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. So I'm more process oriented. I'm about, hey, let's stick to my routine. This is kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to do. This is what I want the ball flight to be, and then I let it go. It goes where it goes. I'm not attached to it. But if every now and then I get attached to it, that's when I get upset. And I don't throw clubs, but in my mind, I'm pissed off at myself being stupid because whatever my process was, I did it bad. I didn't do it as at a level of excellence I could have. But it's like it's that detach, disassociate from the outcome.
I love that. I love that a lot. And I think it's something even me personally, I need to be more cognizant of because I'm working on this stuff just as much as anybody else. But the idea of the outcome, I think realistic outcomes are also in the equation here. There's plenty of guys that track shot data and they look at the way a PGA golfer, proximity to the hole on an approach, scratch golfer, 10 handicap, 20 handicap, whatever. There is a reasonable assumption that you have based on your skill level that we tend to think, okay, well, I should be better than what I am. Like getting messed up because you're not getting the ball close enough to the hole or you're not sending it down the fairway as long. I think part of it is that we don't have realistic expectations of our performance and think we need to be better than that. Now, if you are a scratch golfer and you are constantly coming short of your target, that doesn't really reflect about you as a person. It reflects something in performance. And so instead of that becoming something where you fly off the handle, it really should just be a signal to you that I need to fix something in my mechanics or something in my mindset because I'm missing the target more often than I should based on what my historical data shows me. And so part of it, I think, is that it's funny when you look at amateurs that only get out maybe twice a month. Like the fact is that you can't have any expectations about having greatness in your game because you just don't play enough. Like we don't understand the level. You mentioned hitting 4,000 balls a week. You're not exaggerating, and it's probably somewhere close to 10,000 if you really think about it, right? The number of times they have hit that shot that you just missed, you missed the green by 60 yards for some reason. They have taken that shot 100,000 times over their lifetime, maybe even more. Like they've taken so many shots, they have an expectation of knowing if the caddy gives them 3 yards out, they know what a 153-yard swing feels like. Most people on the planet have no idea what a 153-yard swing looks like. They can probably figure what a 145 to 160 range feels like, but in reality, 153 means nothing to them. So having the realistic expectations and outcomes also plays into this whole idea of setting an outcome when you're approaching your game like that.
Okay. I think the other thing is entitlement and feeling like you deserve it. Let's say, for example, you spend the whole summer working on your driving game and you bought a new driver at the beginning of the golf season and you have gone to the driving range countless times to work on your drive. And the first drive of the round, you hit it like you've never hit a driver before. That gap between what you expected, what you felt like you deserved, the hard work you put in, you thought you would get more. That creates the frustration, that gap. Whereas, if you haven't played all summer, think about it, guys that go out for the first time, sometimes their best round. Zero expectations. They just want to make contact with the ball and they score their best. And so it should be like an alarm in their mind, like, oh my God, no expectations, played pretty good. Lots of expectations, played frustrated.
Well, I think a lot of it is the pressure of living up to the expectations. Now, I mean, you've rubbed shoulders with a lot of elite professional athletes in your time who are able to live up to expectations. Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea here is you there are very few people on the planet with the ability to live up to their own expectations, let alone the expectations of an entire city or an organization, correct? I think it's a lot of giving ourselves grace, number one. But again, it gets back to reasonable. Like, what is reasonable? I think you can be disappointed in a performance. Like, if you get a new driver and you're having amazing practice sessions and you're falling short of what you expect, I don't think there's anything wrong with being disappointed. But what it is, it doesn't say anything about you as a person. It says something about the mechanics or your setup. It says it's more about the repetition of the action to get the result. Maybe you don't even have the ability to hit it as far as you think you can hit it. But the idea is it's not matched to your identity. That ability for you to fall short of your goal says nothing about you as a person. It's all part of the mechanics of swinging the golf. If you don't have enough club speed, if you don't have enough ball speed, you're never going to achieve the distance you want. And so it's having a realistic expectation. If you're hitting, let's say, on the driving range, if you're saying I'm getting 280, consistently on the driving range and you're not doing it on the golf course, well, then that's probably something to investigate. It's probably something related to performance bubble. It's something related to mindset. But if you can't get those mechanics on the practice facility, then what makes you think that you're just going to like dial it up on the golf course, right? So it's really knowing kind of what your performance range is and having that as an expectation. And then again, if you don't reach it, being disappointed and then taking actions to correct it. That's what practice time is for. Practice is time to dial that stuff in.
Jump into basketball. I know you're a big basketball nut and coached basketball forever. Big Michael Jordan fan, big Bulls fan.
Yeah.
You got to practice your shots and know what your range is. You got to know where your sweet spot is. And the best of the best, they find that spot on the court. Larry Bird was amazing at it. He knew, didn't even have to look at the basket. He knew where he was on the court. And so it stands to reason that, if you really want to be good at basketball, in addition to a lot of other things, you got to know where you can take your shots because you know you're going to make it most of the time. And if you're a coach and you're scouting a team, you want to get them off their spots. It's that simple. So in golf, you got to know, hey, you know what? You're better at 60 yards than you are at 85 going into the green. Well, hit it to 60
Yeah.
instead of 85.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a challenge I've had in golf. And I think it's because I've played an outside game more than an inside game sometimes. I've got somebody that's killing it or someone that's playing horrible. I feel sorry for him. He can't. I mean, he's looked like he never played golf before. And in both of those extremes, sometimes it takes me off my game. It's really hard just to focus on my game because my cart mate is miserable.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, can you give me some tips? And it's like, bro, I don't know anything about golf, or he's killing it. And you're like, holy smokes. How do you coach people to be indifferent to how their partners are playing?
Difficult, man. It's something I struggle with. Like, I golf with my wife most of my rounds, and she's much better than me at predictable mechanics for predictable results. I'm a lot more wild, and so I'm prone to some of these swings that we're talking about here, where like I'm in a funk. Like I'm not happy. I'm disappointed. I'm not pleased with where I'm at. That mood that I take into the cart ruins her day because she's having a good day. And most times when I get in that funk and I'm having that experience, I'm taking away from hers. I think one of the biggest fights we had was when she had one of the best rounds of her life and I had one of the worst. And I was crying like a baby. And she's like, you ruined one of the best rounds of my life because you wouldn't let me enjoy it. So it's hard to coach somebody out of that, right? It's not like you can snap your fingers and say, hey, let's magically take this away. It's really about being called out. Like you need to go through the experience of doing that where you've lost your game and you've disappointed and pissed off your cart mate or your foursome. You have to live through that experience and with awareness, look back and go, was that really useful for me? And did it serve them? And then you have to make a decision. It's very much like an addict coach. They have to make a decision almost hourly to not partake in their addiction. This is somewhat like that. I don't mean to belittle addiction. Like it's a serious disease. But flying off the handle and playing like that is sort of like that in a way. And so it's about having the awareness that what you are doing doesn't serve you, but it's also affecting the people around you. And you have to make a decision in that moment. I just hit a bad shot. I'm having a bad round. I'm having a bad hole, whatever you want to say, to come around and go, I'm not going to pout. I'm not going to mutter under my breath. I'm going to bite my lip. I'm going to maintain a level of attitude that doesn't detract my partner in any way. Now, on the other side, if your partner is absolutely killing it, I believe it actually helps you to celebrate their success. I mean, I come from team sports. Basketball is a team sport, and we can only play 5 guys on the court at a time. There's 8, 9 other guys sitting on the bench that aren't getting the chance to play at any given time. And it's very easy for somebody who is not getting a lot of minutes to sit on that bench and be jealous of those guys that are on the floor. And I get it. Everyone wants to be playing. But if you sit there and can't celebrate your teammate's success, it says something about you. What you should be thinking about is, how do I get in a situation, meaning that person's performing better than me? What do I need to do personally to up my performance so that I can compete against that guy and maybe take away some of those minutes? Maybe I can get in that game. But what I found is the teams that actually are the most fun to coach is when everybody is excited for success and they are celebrating the success of others. I think it's really important for you in that situation where you are not having that same level to celebrate the success of your cartmate or somebody in your foursome. That does a lot for your energy and keeps you positive, even if you're not having the day that you wanted to.
Okay, so I'm going to add 2 things to our intentions before we step on the number 1 tee. One is that we're going to serve. We're going to have a serving heart with our cartmate and our other golfers, regardless of how everybody's playing, whether somebody's killing it or somebody's, having the most miserable day of their life. Because when you do that, you kind of like set yourself up to be aware of when it happens. On the 6th hole, somebody like misses a birdie putt, and not only do they miss the birdie putt, they go so far past the hole, they miss the par putt too.
Yeah, yeah.
So they end up with a bogey, and they were sitting there with a gimme birdie. The next one is to just remind yourself throughout the round that you're going to detach yourself from the outcome and the results, not just yours, theirs. So if they're doing really well, you celebrate it, you serve them. They're doing really bad, same thing. You serve them. And I think one of the best things you can do when you're playing bad is play fast.
Well, that's what every golfer loves.
Yeah.
The rule is
just play fast.
If you're playing bad, play faster.
But it's like, it doesn't serve your partners when you're taking 8 practice swings because you've been stinking it up so bad. Yeah. You can't get the feel.
Yeah.
So you take 8 practice swings and they're like, hey, I got dinner with the wife tonight. Can we hit the ball?
Yeah. Keep moving. Get yourself on the practice range. Figure out your swing afterwards. Do not let's add another intention. I am not going to work on my swing during the round. It is not performance time. Game time is not the time to work on your shot. It's not the time to work on your swing. You are going to find in any round that your swing is going to be there. It's going to leave you. It's going to come back. Don't be out there thinking about that is probably the worst thing you could do, is be thinking about how to correct your mechanics while you're on the course. Do not do that. Free throw shooters should not be thinking about their free throw mechanics when there's 2 minutes in the game and they've been struggling at the line and they're 6 for 10 on the night. That is not the time to be thinking about mechanics.
Exactly. I agree. Mechanics has got to go out the door. It's got to be a field game, not a thinking game. I do think when we use the dichotomy of feeling yourself around the course compared to thinking yourself around the course, and I'm not saying you shouldn't think, and make sure you're using the right club and got the right distance and you understand the wind and the elevation changes, whatever. But when you're thinking, you're usually thinking, just feel it, see it, visualize it. So the example I like to use for golf is like throwing a baseball or throwing a football. If you're an outfielder and you're baseball, you just zing it. You look, where you're going to throw it. Let's say you're going to throw it third base. Your brain automatically calculates the distance and you just let it go. Where with golf, you see these guys, and I've been there too. You're thinking on the way on your backswing. I mean, you're done. You're done. You just
Yeah.
got to let it.
Did you did you happen to see the Travelers Championship a couple weeks ago? Tommy Fleetwood was in the lead on 18. Do you remember this? Okay. Tommy Fleetwood's won like 8 times on the European Tour, never won on the PGA Tour. Coming into 18, he had a one-stroke lead on Keegan Bradley and basically had to par to win, right? He stood out. I wanted to say he was about 180, 170 yards out. And he and his caddy went back and forth, and he got over the ball and he was doing his practice swings, and he gave the club back, got another club, got back, stood back the ball. He took forever and he was second guessing himself, picked the wrong club, hit a shot, hit it short of the green, had to chip up from there, ended up making bogey. Keegan birdied that hole, ended up winning the tournament. But it's a great example of what you just talked about, is that overthinking, especially in golf, even at the professional level, you could see what it does to your game. If you aren't standing over a shot and you're not sure about it, I mean, if you listen to the banter of caddies, what is the thing that you always hear the caddies say? As soon as the golfer chooses a club and approaches their ball, they're
Commit.
always like great choice. They're constantly reminding them, like they're putting a hypnotic suggestion in their player's mind that you've made a great club selection, you can do this, hit a good shot. But if you're up there thinking and calculating, like I think the only person that could really do this is Bryson DeChambeau, but he's like a robot. Like he's a supercomputer. Like he's doing calculations all the time. But even him knows that once he's done all the calculations, he's got to shut off the logical brain and execute the shot. But I like that idea of, and for me, coach, one of the most enjoyable rounds and one of the best rounds I've ever played was at Kapalua. Actually, that's my background. We went to Kapalua on Maui, the plantation course, had a caddy who basically just gave me the club I should hit every time, told me exactly what to aim for, and I just took the club, stood over the ball, and hit it. And I didn't always execute the shot. But what happened was I didn't have to think through a very difficult course. I just had to execute, and it was enjoyable. I scored great. Like it was one of the most enjoyable rounds I had. And my wife is like, "Well, no shit. You didn't have to think. You just went out there and freely did what the caddy said. You didn't think, you just played. You were in a zone." So I think there's so much to it, especially in golf, is that you need to stop thinking. You just need to perform.
Well, the hard part is when you're playing your home course, you have so much history. When you're playing a course in Maui, you trusted the caddy. Once you trusted, he knew your distances. He made it so simple you could feel. And because you've never played it before, if you hit a bad shot, you didn't freak out,
No,
right?
no, because I had no expectations. My expectation was this is a difficult course because I'm walking the course that other PGA players have played. So my expectations were I'm going to have around here. I'm going to have an experience of playing on a championship course, but I didn't have a score expectation in mind. But yeah, that caddy. And here's what's uncanny about the caddy, and I love this. And coaches are like you and I understand this as coaches. That caddy took about 2 holes to understand my swing and my distances, and by hole 3 and 4 knew exactly what club to pull for me and would just hand me that club because he knew exactly how far out it was, knew the shot. Like what a joy to have somebody alongside you like that.
Okay, so as a golf coach in high school this year, one of the things you might want to think about is when you guys are playing a tournament where one of your golfers happens to be like his dad's course. So the kid's played there so many times. He's going to have expectations. He's going to have history. Compare that to when he's going to a course he's never played before. Maybe he does looking up online. Maybe that's one of your processes, pre-tournament coaching is, hey, go play the course online. You know what? Even when you tell somebody don't have expectations, they still do. But when they've never played there before, they can't.
Yeah.
You can't have expectations. I mean, you can have them, but they really don't hold a lot of value.
Well, I was laughing because it reminds me whenever you say something like it's like don't hit it in the water, you're like 50% more likely to hit it in the water, right? You go up there, I'm not going to chunk it. I'm not going to chunk it. And then what do you inevitably do? You chunk it. You need to have a more positive thought. That just popped into my mind as you were talking about that.
Okay. I got another question. We're on the course. I am, let's say through 16 holes, I am personal best range. And really all I got to do is bogey, let's say 16, 17, 18. And I'm going to play the best round of my life. And you go, hey, Craig, you're playing pretty good. Man, have you ever scored this well? I don't think I've ever seen you play this well. My brain automatically starts wanting to play like 12 shots ahead. I'm not playing like every shot is not one shot. It's like going to affect how my final score ends up. How do you get people to be fully present when the temptation, the gravitational pull of, maybe having their career best is right in front of their nose and they're getting reminded of it by the guys they're playing with?
Well, I'm going to put that back to you. To me, what they've just done, to use your vernacular, is they've entered your performance bubble. So what advice would you give, coach?
Well, the suggestion I have for regulating your emotions and getting grounded and centered again back into your performance bubble is to breathe. By breathing, I can settle back into remember my intentions. It was to be fully present and play one shot at a time. It was to be detached from my results. It was to not allow my playing partners, good, bad, or comments, regardless, good, bad, or play, or their comments to impact my ability to be present. And I can have all those thoughts in 3 breaths and I'm locked back in. And I might have to do it again and again because that's still there. And let's say instead of getting a bogey, I get a birdie. And now it's like gonna happen unless I really shoot myself in the foot the last 2 holes. I got to do it again. So the one thing about the performance bubble, it is a state of mind that comes and goes. And when you're in it, you've got confidence, you've got belief in yourself, confidence in your skills, you've got peace. You know you can do it. You know you can be it. And all the things like fear, doubt, expectations. What happened the last time I was in this situation? What happened the last time I played this hole? What's the last time a player said this to me? I blew up and I didn't get a career best. So I get to, it's a game of anchors and boundaries. I got the stuff that I don't want, doesn't serve me. I use boundaries to keep it out. The things that serve me, I use anchors to keep it in.
I love that. People use the term centered, and I don't think everybody really appreciates what that means. And I think what you just described to me, the word I thought of when you listed out the intentions was anchor. So I'm really glad you used that word. To me, centering on those intentions is anchoring yourself back to those intentions. And what does an anchor do? It locks you into the ground, right? It keeps the boat from going adrift. It keeps you locked in. And the question should be like, what do I lock into? It's those pre-round intentions, which have nothing to do with the score or that next shot. It's really about, hey, these are the macro intentions that I have, and I'm going to stay anchored to those, and the results are going to play out regardless of what happens. I'm going to have to play this hole, these next 3 holes. I may or may not break that personal best, but I'm anchored to these intentions. And as long as I stay anchored to those intentions, you are not going to be affected by whatever outcome ends up happening at the end.
Okay, we finished the round. I tied my personal best. I didn't set it. What is your recommendation for golfers and in life to reflect and learn a lesson, reflect and be able to maybe do it again, reflect and take it away from my game? How do you coach your clients and your players to utilize the data point to help them moving forward?
So our tendency, both as players and as coaches, and I tell this to young coaches as much as anything, is that we tend to focus in on the corrective things and the negative things. I prefer to deliver things as a sandwich. I always want to start with something positive, and then I want to put the corrective in the middle and then finish with the positive. And so I encourage you to do the same for yourself on your golf game. The fact that you went into the clubhouse, 19th hole, sitting down for a drink, you've reached your personal best. That's you should be celebrating that, because at some point that was your best score and you've just tied that best score. So the first thing you really need to do is give yourself a chance to celebrate that you tied the best score you've ever shot. The next thing you could do is think back to what could have I done? Where did I get out of my performance bubble? Or where did I make a mechanical mistake that maybe cost me that one shot that I needed to walk in the clubhouse with a score? Allow yourself to sit in that moment, think about what should have I done, what happened, diagnose what happened, diagnose what action should have I taken or what mindset should have I achieved in that moment that would have produced a different result. Maybe it was decision. Maybe you were in the rough and you chose to hit the wrong club and the ball was in a bad lie. You should have thought about laying up and you tried to go for the green. And instead of getting the ball in the fairway, you put it in the bunker. You can go back and go, okay, what I should have done there is I should have hit the ball in the fairway and then still got on the green and made par there. And then end with something positive. You want to think about, did I meet my intentions? Just review it. Like, I had a good time with these guys. I served my cart mates, like, just review the fact that the intentions you set, close with that and remind yourself that you met those things. So I just call it a sandwich: positive, corrections, positive, and then set the thing aside and move on with your life.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just played 18 holes in an hour. That was like the fastest hour on.
Man, the Ranger would just be beaming, right?
We were flying through the course. Okay, Bob, what did we not talk about that you would like to mention to our guest today?
Yeah, I love that we jammed on golf. But as you know, Coach, I not only coach basketball, I coach golf. I coach the sport, but I coach people. And you and I know that I love coaching athletes that are transitioning out of that career, whether it's college athlete, professional athlete. I love the fact that athletes are coming out of their sport with so many valuable skills that most entrepreneurs have to learn the hard way. You've had the opportunity to learn what it takes to achieve great things, but you may not know what direction to go in. When people come to me professionally, Coach, they're usually at a key point in their life where they either don't see the path forward or there's so many paths that they're kind of stuck. So I'm really good at helping people kind of clear away the clutter and figure out a path for them going forward. And I really, really treasure working with former athletes because I know that the grit and the determination they have are going to make whatever path they choose successful. And so I really enjoy doing that, whether that's in a coaching session like you and I are doing here. I really love doing it on the golf course. I think it's a great place. I love coaching in motion. I love to play a round of golf with somebody and help them work through a particular challenge and get clarity by the end of the round. I call it Spark Tea Time, sparkteatime.com. I've got a book there that talks about a lot of the stuff that Coach and I talked about today. But I'll say this: being an athlete gives you a great advantage in life. The fact that your parents or whatever caused you to go into athletics early on in your career and pursue it as part of your adult life is amazing. And it has equipped you to do so much in life. It's given you so many lessons. You've had so many influential people in your life that have helped shape you. Continue to lean on those lessons and then take that and apply it to a different venue. You're just moving to a different arena. You're still going to be able to influence people in a different way than you've influenced them before, but you can still have influence. And I would love to help you find that direction if you resonated with anything I said today. So thanks for allowing me to talk about that, Coach. I love it.
Okay, there you have it. BOBREGNERUS.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being on Pro Mindset today.
It was my joy. Always loved talking with you.
Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.